By the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jay Kohn. Janelle is off tonight. Well, as the clock ticks down to the midterm elections, the focus shifts to the voters and getting them out to the polls. Tonight, Senator Jon Tester and congressional hopeful Kathleen Williams joined forces to rally supporters here in Billings. Tonight's rally over at the Shrine Auditorium attracted a crowd of several hundred people. Q2's Russ Riesinger shows us what it was like.
Both Jon Tester and Kathleen Williams locked in tight races that the polls show could go either way. They were here tonight to try and rally Democrats to get excited about them and other Democrats who'll be on the ballot next Tuesday.
Here's the deal, folks. How many people have voted? Hey! Give yourself a hand. That's good.
Neither Senator Jon Tester or Kathleen Williams had any problem winning over this crowd, but winning next Tuesday won't be as easy. Both of the candidates playing up the sharp differences between them and their Republican opponents.
Greg Gianforte promised to be the voice for Montana in the U.S. House. How can you be the voice when you don't meet with the public or allow them to give you comments, huh? Right? He promised to stick up for our agricultural sector, but he hasn't shown any leadership on tariffs and foreign policy with a sledgehammer, so he's not doing that, right? Right. Promised to give us better health care. All he's done is threaten people who protection against pre-existing conditions, so he hasn't done that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, unlike every other election I've had, and it's just the way it is this time, myself and my opponent couldn't be further apart on just about every issue. And so I think rural Montana is at stake. And we have challenges with our rural nature that D.C. has to pay attention to. And if there's not somebody back there telling them about it, my concern is we'll get forgotten.
The pressure to get the vote on more than ever with just days left before the election.
Get out there, do what we need to do, win this thing, okay? God bless you all! Thank you!
In Billings, I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.
Thank you so much, Russ. GOP Senate hopeful Matt Rosendale, meanwhile, is traveling the state on his final trip across Montana prior to Tuesday's election. Coming up tomorrow, the Rosendale camp has rallies scheduled in Whitefish, Polson, and Missoula. Earlier this week, Rosendale called it the honor of a lifetime to receive the endorsement of the Crow Tribal chairman. But now some members of the tribe say the chairman did not consult tribal members or the tribal legislature and that he does not speak for all the Crow people. Q2's Connor Pregetzer tonight has more from Crow Agency.
On October 28th, Crow Chairman A.J. Not Afraid endorsed Republican candidate for Senate Matt Rosendale in Lewistown on behalf of the Crow tribe. But now, members of the Crow tribe are speaking up, saying that the chairman did not have the authority to give this endorsement without first consulting the tribe. Crow legislator Sean Reelbird says that there is a process the chairman would have had to carry out before bestowing an official endorsement from the tribe.
The Crow Tribal chairman cannot officially endorse Rosendale as a candidate of the Crow tribe or the elected leadership, and that in order for an official endorsement to occur, that the Crow legislature need to vote on a joint action resolution.
On Thursday, protesters gathered in Crow Agency to voice their concerns with the chairman's action, as well as their support for incumbent Senator Jon Tester. Angela Russell, a former Montana State and Crow Tribe legislator, says that she hopes people understand the issues that Senator Tester has worked with the tribe on in the past and then get out and vote.
So I hope that people will get out and vote and take a look at all the issues that certainly Senator Tester has helped us with.
These protester sentiments were echoed by protest organizer Bethiana Peace, who believes that votes cast in the upcoming election will show the true endorsement of the Crow tribe.
I guarantee the votes will talk this year. We have satellite election offices that are open Wednesday and Thursday, voting early. We have people picking up absentee ballots. We have people on the ground spreading the word. I mean, this is going to be it. Tester's going to win this.
In Crow Agency, this is Connor Pregetzer, MTN News.
Thank you, Connor. Chairman Not Afraid, by the way, did explain his actions, saying that the agenda fits the Crow tribe to side with the Trump administration and with Matt Rosendale. President Donald Trump today unveiled a major change in U.S. immigration policy, one that he says will discourage illegal immigrants from trying to cross the border. This announcement comes as the administration focuses its message in the final days before Tuesday's election. Nicole Killian has more now from the White House.
President Trump fired up crowds in Columbia, Missouri at another midterm election rally. He promised a new crackdown in his biggest campaign issue, immigration reform.
Republicans want strong borders, no crime, no chaos, and no caravans.
As caravans from Central America make their way toward the U.S. border, the president announced he's finalizing a plan that would require immigrants seeking asylum to present themselves at a legal port of entry. Currently, U.S. immigration law allows immigrants to also apply for asylum between border crossings.
Under this plan, the illegal aliens will no longer get a free pass into our country by lodging meritless claims in seeking asylum.
The president said the practice of detaining immigrants and then releasing them before their case moves through the courts is over. He says immigrants will be held indefinitely in massive tent cities like this one outside of El Paso. The president has ordered more than 5,000 active duty troops to the southwest border and says he's authorized them to use lethal force if migrants throw rocks like they did at the Mexico-Guatemala border.
We will consider that a firearm, because there's not much difference when you get hit in the face with a rock. Consider it a rifle.
Claims of asylum have spiked in recent years, and there is a backlog of more than 800,000 cases pending in immigration court. Generally, only about 20% of asylum seekers are approved to stay. Nicole Killian, CBS News, the White House.
There are currently 4 of those immigrant caravans that are making their way north. The largest one includes an estimated 4,000 people, but is still hundreds of miles from the border. On to the weather scene now. Our chief forecaster Bob McGuire joining us here on set. Bob, you got some impressive snow totals that piled up overnight.
It's hard to believe because here in Billings it's not that bad, right. But up in the mountains it's another whole story. Take a look at this, guys. Cook City, 6 inches of snow. Immigrant had 4 inches. 14 miles west of Nye had 3. 13 miles northeast of Wilsau, also 3 inches. Burgess Junction had 1 inch of snow there. And then also, we also have this a little moving in later tonight at 3 a.m. It's a wind advisory for the Beartooth foothills. That stays with us till 6 o'clock. Could be looking at winds 50 to 65 miles per hour. And not only that, it's going to be very windy tomorrow into Saturday on the entire eastern slopes of the divide, ranging anywhere from 50 to maybe 75 mile per hour winds. We'll have more in your forecast coming up in a few more minutes. Jay?
All right, thank you, Bob. A Great Falls native joined the U.S. Air Force to pursue his dream of flying. And not only did he find his love for flying, he also found the love of his life. CBS's Carter Evans tonight introduces us to this husband-wife team who made history.
The B-2 stealth bomber is one of the most feared aircraft in the world, able to fly undetected into enemy territory. Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Avery was the first woman to fly one.
Honestly, I never thought I would be a pilot. I just never thought. I was very kind of insecure in high school.
But she overcame that insecurity and earned her Air Force wings in 1997. Then she heard there was a search for B-2 pilots.
And so I decided to throw my name in the hat.
You didn't set out to blaze a trail for women.
No, actually I didn't. I just applied because it intrigued me.
She got the job, but there was a problem. It meant she'd have to leave her boyfriend John, also an Air Force pilot, and move to the B-2 base in Missouri.
Is that why you applied to be
that had some things to do with it. You know, it's obviously an incredible airplane, but that had a significant role in the decision process.
So they both became B-2 pilots and eventually husband and wife. Another first in Air Force history, but it also meant they could never be in the same plane.
You are not allowed to fly together if you are married.
Right. Jennifer went on to fly a mission in Operation Iraqi Freedom. She is still the only woman to fly a B-2 in combat.
Why do you think more women don't go after these jobs?
There could be a perception problem that they think that they won't be accepted.
The couple eventually flew B-2s for the Air National Guard until they both retired from the military in September, giving them more time to focus on the ultimate mission, their 2 children.
I have ultimate respect for her because I know that she's an incredible pilot, but I know that she's an even better mother.
And they'll always have a connection to that exclusive club in the sky. Carter Evans, CBS News, Boise, Idaho.
And by the way, Lieutenant Colonel John Avery is a native of Great Falls. The couple, as Carter told us, retired this past September after 20 years of service to the country. Still to come on tonight's 10 o'clock news, after an unexplainable disease hits the nation's children, rendering some paralyzed, moms and the CDC want answers. And in sports coming up, Skyview volleyball coach Vicki Carl leaves another stamp on Montana's female athletic landscape. Scott hears from her coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Kohn and Janelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.